Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's podcast episode. We're diving right into an October girl chat. This is just a time where I turn on the mic. I've got a note on my phone about a lot of random topics to talk about. What do we have in the note here today? We have fashion things. We have the things that I'm excited for to come back into my life now that it is fall. I've got some reading. I've got some updates just in mom life and health and fitness, some things that I've been loving. Nothing serious and really just kind of a hodgepodge of things. And so if anything lands or resonates, or I forget to link something in the show notes that I said I would, because that happens quite frequently, come on over to Instagram. Don't be afraid to send me a DM. I love to chat with you guys. And to kick off fall, I feel like I have seen fall fashion TikToks happening since August, which, as somebody who, my birthday is in the middle of August, and I'm always just like, summer is not over, my friends. And even when September rolls around, I'm like, summer is not over. It says on the calendar that the summer, or that fall begins like September, 21st or something like that. And now we are here at October 1st. So now is the time where I feel it's appropriate to be talking about fall fashion and something that I have been loving. And I've gotten a couple. It's not like I'm overhauling my closet with these, but something that I am loving and I am so glad that is on trend is skirts. Like, I am one where I love my legs. I love shorts. I love wearing jean shorts. I love wearing my athletic dresses. I feel comfortable and confident when I am showing my legs, and I am loving skirts. I bought a skirt that's like a black, kind of dressier style looking skirt. I now have a jean skirt. I now am on the hunt for like a floral skirt, because a skirt and a chunky sweater and like knee-high at least boots, that is the look for fall. It is so cute. I've been seeing a lot of fall outfits that are like little skirt, big sweater, tall boots, and that is the type of outfit I am here for. So the black skirt, that's kind of the dressier material, I got from Loft. And the jean skirt I got is from Amazon. Now, I don't know if I recommend this jean skirt from Amazon. I'm going to bring it with me when I go to Nashville this month in October. But it's very, very stretchy, like OG jegging material. And I have a feeling that once it is worn and washed one time, it is not going to keep the flattering shape that it has. So I literally tried it on. I was like, this is so stinking cute. I'm so excited to wear this. And then I put it away because I am not wearing it until we go to Nashville, because I want it to keep its cute shape, and I don't want it to get ruined, because it's very affordable, very cheaply made, and I don't know if it's gonna last. But like jean skirt, sweater, boots in Nashville, are you kidding me? A lot of people have said it's going to get hot during the day still in Nashville this time of year, just depending. But I was like, well, I could even wear, a tank top under my sweater, and then it's like skirt, tank top, boots type of look. So I was really, really excited to stumble upon that. And you guys, I need to tell you, because I know you have these in your closet. I have these in your closet. It's up to you to make the judgment call on it. But we have to get rid of the ankle booties that show the ankle. That's out. If you're going to do a booty, it is up higher and covers the ankle. I don't make the rules, and if you love them, keep wearing them. But what I have seen is, if you're wearing an ankle boot that is so low cut that it shows your ankle, apparently that's chuggy, whatever that means. I know what that means, but that just outdates you by a lot. So having ankle boots where the boot comes up higher than the ankle bone, and then the boots that are more pointed toe. And I've been trying so hard to have change slowly the boots in my closet to be pointed toe, because while round toe and square toe, they have their moments, I feel like no matter what, a pointed toe is just more elevated and chic. And there's a couple that I have found at DSW, and I was having a whole conversation about this today too, because I'm like, I don't know if I can recommend them yet, because I do want my shoes to be comfortable. I want them to be comfortable. And is there a brand that is a comfortable pointed toe boot or bootie? I don't know. I don't know if I found it yet, but if you find them, you need to tell me and let me know. So those are the fall fashion things that I am really excited about and implementing. I don't do a whole lot with buying a lot of new pieces, except I did see this girl on TikTok that was like, I know there's a lot of buy this dupe on Amazon and then the quality's really not that good. But this gal was raving about the fit and the quality of this very staple sweater. I will leave this in the show notes, you guys. If you do not see this in the show notes, come for me, because I have gotten this in navy. I've gotten this sweater in white now, and I want to order one more color because it is like a more oversized fit type of sweater, but it's the type of sweater that you can put on with jeans. You could put on with a skirt. You could put on with really anything. I'm even seeing girls jazz up sweatpants, and instead of putting a crew neck sweater on with their sweatpants, but putting this type of actual knit sweater on with sweatpants for an elevated look. Be good with trouser leg type of pants silhouette, straight leg leggings, yoga pants, whatever, with a white t-shirt on underneath. Looks really, really, really cute. So there's this sweater from Amazon that I found that I feel is it's kind of boring. It's just really kind of a boring sweater. But you know how some days you just need that boring sweater to just put on and feel like you've got something. I don't know, because the sweater, I feel like it's nothing special, but I love it so much that I can jazz it up with jewelry, or I can wear it really, really casual with jeans and a white t-shirt underneath, and it looks put together, but nothing fancy, right? And typically in my day-to-day, I don't need anything fancy, but I do want to feel polished and put together. So fall fashion, I'm all about the skirts. I'm all about the pointed toe boots. We're covering up the ankles. We're getting boots that are, a knee high-ish. And this particular sweater. Do you know what else? And if you've been a follower of mine for a long time, you know something I love about the fall and winter is making a soup a week. Specifically, my chili. I love, love, love making a chili on the weekends and then having it for lunch, or if I need a quick dinner, just using a soup or a chili as a leftover is my literal favorite thing. I am going to write out my chili recipe in one of my cookbooks. Now, mind you, the way I make it for myself is very veggie loaded. When I am making my chili for a crowd, I change the recipe up a little bit because not everybody likes vegetables as much as I do. Because when I'm making a chili for myself, I'm putting a ton of bell peppers in it, and I'm also putting a ton of celery in it, which might sound really weird to you to put celery in a chili, but there's just something about that crunch that the celery keeps that is so good. And when I'm making it for a crowd, I maybe put a little bit of bell pepper in there, but I usually omit the chili. But it's a really good way to sneak in a lot of vegetables. The soup that I am making this week, now the weather hasn't entirely cooled off here yet. Thankfully, we've had a beautiful September. I haven't made a single silly. I haven't made a single soup or chili because it's been so warm here. But I'm going to make a soup this week, and I'm going to be making a creamy chicken wild rice soup. And if it turns out good, I am going to share the recipe because I got it off TikTok from another creator, and I literally want to give her credit where credit is due if it turns out as good as I think it's going to. But I'm making a chicken and wild rice soup this week, and I could not be more excited to have my soup prep. I don't necessarily do a whole bunch of meal prep, but I do a soup prep. That is for dang sure, and I love, love, love it. I am back to reading a lot of fiction again. There's just something about being cozy and inside, curling up with a blanket and reading fiction that just really helps my brain shut off. Now, for me, I like story and smut. That's kind of rare to come by when both is done well. And I recently got into a series where there's not a lot of smut. So if you're not into smutty writing, a really good romance author is Cowels. Catherine with a C, Cowels with a C. And I read the first book in one of her series, Tattered Stars. And what I like about reading series in this way is the characters and stories play along with each other, but they're standalone novels by themselves. But it is kind of cool to get the aspect and elements of the family dynamic, and the storyline plays out and upon itself. So you kind of feel like you are getting to, it feels more like you're reading a TV series instead of just standalone books all the time. And so I've been reading Catherine Cowles' series. The first book in the series is Tattered Stars, and I have really been liking how she writes. Some authors, when it comes to banter or descriptive details, it just doesn't land or resonate, or sometimes it can feel really, really cheesy. But I feel like Catherine's writing it's not too out there where you have to be super, super focused in reading, but it's a great way of writing where it's like descriptive and captivating, and the storylines are romance. It's not very smutty. So if you're somebody who you're like, I'm here for the smut all the time, T.L. Swan is actually an author that I kind of gravitate towards quite a bit when I'm like, okay, let's get some smut in my life. Is that bad to say? Smut in my life? But I've just discovered Catherine Cowles, and I'm really liking her writing. I'm really liking her character development. I'm really liking how it's in a sense suspenseful story writing. So there's good story writing in there. Okay. So just wanted to tell you a little bit about some book updates. This year has been one of the lighter years that I've read. I think I started reading in like 2021, and I read way a lot in 2021, 2022, 2023. I think I read 55 books. And then this year I've slowed down a lot. And I think it's just because I'm finding that delicate balance in between reading, and I'm also catching up on old shows and series and watching some things in the evening when the kids have gone to bed. So that is what I have been reading lately. And I mean, you're going to hear a lot about this in parts in upcoming episodes. I've got great guests coming onto the podcast. I've got some really great solo episodes written out, but I am on a mental toughness journey, and I talk about this a lot on my Patreon, but this really just sparked and stemmed from internal processing and self-awareness, really, of how small things would derail me. Small things and emotions started dictating my day and what I do. And, I just really got honest with myself, and I'm like, I am just so tired of being an emotional weenie. And that's actually one of the title names in the series on Patreon. But if you're at all interested or curious, want some resources on what kind of started my mental toughness journey. It's over on Patreon, and I think the reason why I've gone down in reading fiction books is because I am setting intentional time in the habit stacking of my day. Like when I'm getting ready for the day, I talked about that in a previous episode, that doing my hair and makeup, getting dressed, that's now becoming a cornerstone block of time. Some days it's 15 minutes, some days it's 45 minutes if I've washed my hair, where I'm listening to personal development that is about mental toughness. And I'm really resonating and trying to soak it in while I'm getting ready for the day. So that's one of the reasons why I think I'm lighter on the fiction reads, is because I'm really balancing. Now, when I read fiction books, I'm reading it on my Kindle. And when I'm reading, quote unquote, my mental toughness books, I'm listening on Audible and I'm getting ready. So I'm kind of doing something where some days there are days where I'm like completely zoned out to what the lesson is, but I'm just trusting the subconscious processing of like, even though I don't feel like I'm actively listening to it, I'm hoping my subconscious is taking in, but I'm really focusing on one thing at a time and layering and then layering upon it. So in one of the books that I was reading, it really talked about ruminating and how ruminating on your problems and like just constantly having this wheel coming back to these thoughts and feelings and or experiences and reliving them and retelling them and reintroducing them is only giving them more and more life, and how ruminating on problems or situations or things or whatnot is not helpful. And so for a while, I was really paying attention to how much I was in the ruminating process. And then now in mental toughness, what I am focusing on is when the environment around you, whether that be a person that's bringing the energy or the just environment as a collective is bringing a certain attitude, energy, or emotion, like protecting yourself. And I know the quote, protecting your peace, is thrown out there, but then you're sitting wondering like, okay, but how do I protect my peace? Really not letting outside circumstances affect what's going on with you internally. And I've noticed this actually be really helpful in the macro level of things and the micro level of things. And for example, I don't live in a town that has like I have to drive to go to my grocery store. Let's say that. And I drive to the grocery store and it's approximately, let's say 25 minutes away, and I get there and you guys know I love Aldi, so this is Aldi, and I walk in and all of the coolers have the blockage screens in front of them, and it says like, due to our refrigeration system, we cannot sell foods from the refrigerator. So that means the refrigeration, produce, all the way back to the cheeses, if you're familiar with Aldi, and the deli meats and the regular meats and the chicken and the dairy and the eggs and all of that. And then the frozen section, that's like the doors that you open, close, all of that is down. The entire perimeter was down. And I walk in and I'm just like, huh. And I could see the workers, I could see other customers, majority of the people were very understanding that like, this is a small problem for me and a big problem for them. But there were some where their attitudes were just like, oh, this is the biggest inconvenience for me. Meanwhile, my brain is like, yeah, okay. The reason why I come here is because it's small, I can get in and out quickly, and the prices, and it's a one-stop shop for me now at this point, and I don't want to go to Walmart. I also don't want to go to the other grocery store that tends to have more expensive pricing. And well, gosh, I already made myself all the way to town, so I could go even further into town and blah, 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 blah. Like I could have, and I saw that spiral that my brain could have gone down, but I was just like, okay, well, I'll get XYZ here that'll hold us over for a couple more days, and then I'll figure out another plan once the weekend rolls around. And I was just so proud of myself because I wouldn't have taken it out on the store workers or anything like that, but I probably would have griped about it to my husband when he got home, been like, guess what? I drove all the way to blah, 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 and just let it become a mountain. And I talked about this on my Patreon, is for me, why I started a mental toughness journey is because I was noticing for myself, I was making mountains out of molehills. I was taking little, small, minuscule problems and making them bigger than what they actually were. And when I was doing that, I wasn't liking how I was feeling. I didn't like how it was making me not take action on things or derail me from taking action on things. And I started, so I've been on this journey, and like I've told my husband time and time again, this is going to change my life. Like, the thinking in this new way. And I really do think, like, I used to read a handful of books about anxiety and depression, and I think it perpetuated in some ways more anxiety and depression. But because I'm focused on mental toughness and being resilient and overcoming things and seeing trials and challenges in a new light, it's rewiring anxiety and depression for me in the way that I was hoping the anxiety and depression books were. And I don't know if that's like just me but that's just an interesting observation that I had. Meanwhile, I had my blood work done earlier this summer. I had it done in June and got the results like July. And one of the things I was low on was my creatinine levels were really low. And that's basically your body's storage and amount of creatine. And you've probably seen other people talk about the benefits of creatine. And it wasn't ever a supplement that I entertained taking because I didn't think I needed it. Because they say, lift weights and work out. And I just really was like, my body produces its own creatine. But then when I saw my numbers and I saw I had low creatine levels, I started taking a 5 milligram scoop of creatine every day. Sometimes I'd mix it in with my smoothie that I would have or my protein. I just got really consistent taking creatine. And with creatine, it's something that is you have to build it up and then maintain the storage level of it. So you want to really be consistent with taking creatine. And recently, both my husband and I have heard and listened to some experts talking about how creatine is so good for brain health and cognitive function that a lot of times people with depression see positive benefits when taking creatine because of the cognitive benefits that creatine does have. And just based on my own experience alone, I'm like, is it the creatine or is it the mental toughness? I don't know. But I really think I'm seeing and feeling a positive effect from creatine. And I know a lot of ladies are afraid of taking it due to water weight retention in the muscles or whatever. You've heard that like creatine will make you really bulky if you start taking it. Like, not true. And I'm going to do a podcast episode on this. Like, don't just start taking willy-nilly supplements and taking a million supplements a day. I'm going to really start advocating to you ladies, like, invest in getting the blood work done. I went through JOI, JOI, and it was a finger prick test. The next time I do it in it'll be 6 months, July. So that would be, around January, I'm going to get it done again. I'm going to choose to do a different clinic. But there's just sometimes where if you get the blood work done and you just ask somebody, whether it's a holistic practitioner or whatever it is, to go over the results with you, and then you start supporting yourself. Like, I stopped taking all of the supplements that from my blood work said I didn't need, and I started taking only the ones that my blood work said I needed, and I have seen big positive changes in a lot of different areas for me when I stopped taking the supplements that my body was like not in need of, and I solely focused on the supplements that were supportive for what the outcome of my blood work said I needed. So don't like necessarily willy-nilly take creatine. It was just very interesting to me that that was something that I was low on and started taking it, and I've been taking it consistently. But I will say creatine is one of the most studied supplements, and it's also one of the most like conclusive studied supplements for its positive benefits. So do with that what you will. We're in October and we are now in the back to school groove, and thankfully, like, you know, it's not always going to be smooth sailing, but when those times of smooth sailings happen, to that I am grateful. Right now I am sitting in big gratitude of my kids really liking school, being in the motions of school. That hasn't always been the case, and so we're getting in a good groove with the kids being in school, and I'm in a good groove with work, and I'm in a good groove with being a walking machine. You guys, I have really been enjoying doing my 10K steps a day. I recently just said in October I'm going to bump it up to 12,000 steps in a day to try to increase that even more, because gosh, my walks are just starting to be such a stress reliever for me. And I will tell you, and I will be honest, when I start out my walks, whether it's on my walking pad or whether it's outside or whether I take a tiny drive to go walk in a different area, I am feeling so much peace getting in my walks. And in the first like 15 minutes, I'm not necessarily jazzed about it. Like, I can definitely tell that in the first 15 minutes, there's some conversations going on in my head of like, oh, if I just go up to that point and turn back around, like, I'll just do this a quick walk. But long walks, the way I'm telling you, I have not felt my nervous system feel so peaceful and regulated when I take like a 45-minute to 50-minute walk. I feel so good, and it feels so energizing, but it also, like, you get that little bit of burn in your legs, and it, you know, you get some good quality air in your lungs, and you're outside, and well, outside is best, but like I said, sometimes I'm doing my walking pad, but I am just falling in love with walking. And sometimes when I'm like, okay, do I want to get in my workout or do I want to get in my long walk? I'm gravitating towards my long walks. And guess what? I've been focusing on a couple things, and I have a Patreon episode coming up about this tomorrow. Some nutritional shifts and focuses I've been making on paying attention to my hunger cues and what that means and what that looks like. And I've done those two things. I've walked more, gotten really intentional about my hunger cues, eating protein and produce majority of the time, and I am seeing progress. And you know how I'm seeing progress? It's in my legs. Like, my stomach is always the last to lose weight. But when I am doing what works for my body, I see the changes in my legs first. And I've gotten some really nice compliments, so thank you to you guys when I'm on Instagram and if I'm wearing shorts. Like, yeah, my legs are popping, and it's something that I feel really confident in, and I know I can always tell the changes in my legs first. I bet in everybody's body is different. So what area, when you're doing the dang thing and you're starting to see changes in your body, where do you usually see them first? And yes, I could focus on like, oh, but my tummy's not changing, my stomach's not changing, but like, that's only going to derail me. That's only going to make me feel like I'm not making progress. When I start noticing the progress in one area and I work to that emphasis, and then I see changes in small changes in another area and small changes in another area. And, I navigated like a potluck football party situation really, really well this weekend and was really proud of myself in that. And it just then leads to a positive cycle. And a friend reminded me of this in the scope of goal setting, because we were talking about like working out and stuff, and I was like, working out has never been hard for me. It's always been the food part. And I know that I've put on weight over the years because I'm just eating too much. And she said what was helpful to her was somebody reminded her, like, in the scope of goal setting, yes, have the destination, like have the end goal, but really set up your goal to be what you enjoy doing along the way. And that has really resonated with me in the hindsight of like eating and not overeating. And, I do have a goal of being majority protein and produce based when it comes to my meals. Like, I would say for me, I would love to be 90% protein produce. I think some people are calling it like animal based. Animal based still isn't a lot of vegetables, but then 10%, like that's when, I let loose when we go out to a restaurant, or that's really, really good. But I would love to be 90% protein and produce for my meals, because I want to have good sustained mood, energy, and emotion. I also want to feel really good. And a lot of foods I'm starting to notice are giving me heartburn. And that's just like the worst feeling. And I know it's a lot of the high sugar, high fat, processed foods that give me heartburn. And I now see the goal as like, I want it because I want to enjoy the outcome of it, not necessarily the weight loss of it, if that makes sense. And then, I think like there was just two other things that I wanted to touch on, and I can really, really quickly, but I am in love with Sabrina Carpenter and her new music. And I think it's just so fun to be in the light, fun pop energy. It really just reminds me of like when I was a teenager and listening to Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. Like, it's just really, really fun. So a lot of times when I'm needing some pep in my step on my walks, I'm listening to a Sabrina Carpenter song and I'm putting my mind and energy in a completely different phase and state of life. I don't know if that makes sense, but just music. Music has just been so fun to even listen to on my long walks. And Sabrina Carpenter radio on Pandora or on Spotify, because it just perpetuates a bunch of like fun girly pop songs I've been loving. We got big bulletin boards for the kids' room. We got them off Amazon, so I will link those as well in the show notes. But we got these big bulletin boards because my kids come home, whether it be art or Bryce got like a little couple memorabilia things from when they went to the Vikings game. Jace has like a little paper poster that came with a book that he got. And they were wanting to put these things on their walls. And while you do you in your house, I was just like, I just don't want to like stick these up onto their walls, by putting a tack in the wall or putting a piece of tape on the wall. So we got these bulletin boards, these big bulletin boards for the kids' rooms. And I've really been liking them, like really just being like, yeah, you want to put that. Jace was so cute. He put a couple of his baby pictures on there. He put a couple of our family pictures on there. And it's just been kind of cool because then as they outgrow certain things, all you have to do is just obviously take it off the bulletin board and fill the space with something else. And I've been really working on decluttering. I mean, I know there's something about spring cleaning, but I think there's just so much goodness in fall decluttering. And trust me, my friends, like it'd be so cool to just get it all done at one time, but that's not realistic time-wise as a working mom. So each week I just pick 1 to 2 spaces in our house to declutter and tackle it one thing at a time. I mean, I started the end of August with doing my office because I knew when the kids were back in school, I'd be back in my office more. I've gone through the kids' toys. I obviously went through the kids' clothes before they started school and just gave a refresh of that. So, and I don't have like an outline plan. It's really just when I'm doing my weekly planning on Sunday, I think of, okay, what area of my house do I want to declutter this week? And this week I wrote down our coat closets because I know there's coats in there that we've had forever. They're probably not even my kids' sizes anymore. I know that there's like a bin of shoes that I could definitely go through and get rid of a whole bunch. Just in the entry closet, there's just things you shove in there to get it out of sight and out of mind. So I'm not necessarily doing like it's super organized. Each week, I'm just like, okay, what's one? If it's a big area, what's one? If it's a small area, what's 2 areas that I can declutter this week? So those are the 2 areas I'm decluttering this week is our 2 entry like coat closets that we kind of just shove things in. And we'll see what I find in there. And we'll see how much I donate from there too. So what are your areas that you are going to be tackling this week? Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I hope it just felt like a conversation between 2 friends. And if there's anything that I mentioned, I'm going to remember to try to link everything in the show notes. But like I said, if I forgot, come on over to Instagram and I will link it specifically for you. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard or you want to share your favorite episode topics, please leave a rating and review. This helps the podcast growth and gives people an idea of what the podcast is all about. Something new and exciting that I wanted to share with you before we go is that we now have a Patreon page. This has replaced the Feminine Edge collective community in a cohesive place that is easier for me to manage and cheaper for you. If you are interested in our monthly classes, exclusive day in the life vlogs, Bible studies, community Q&A, and more, go to patreon.com/livingInSync and join for just $5 a month. Check out the show notes for any links or details of things referenced in today's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one.